Wow, my very good friend Kunle Banwo. It's nice to see your face once again.
Same here, my friend. It's a
Um,
pleasure.
and I really want to welcome you to this podcast. And I'm trusting that we'll be able to do justice to this podcast. I would say this is one of my favorite subjects when you talk about uh, the notion of thinking, the notion of thought, the notion of consciousness, when you talk about ideas, where ideas come from. These are some of the subjects that really fascinates me. These are the things that really keeps me thinking all day. And I cannot finish, just trying to find out more about the notion of ideas, the notion of thoughts, the notion of thinking. And I'm sure the same thing is also happening with you because having spent some quality time with you from childhood, I know that this is one domain that will be an interesting conversation in this podcast.
It certainly is, and absolutely fascinating because it's really the bedrock of all that we really are, if we think about it. So it's something that, of course, runs very deeply for me as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a wonderful conversation.
Yeah. Well, for the benefit of our audience, I'd just like to let them know that what we are talking about in this podcast, the Leadership Blueprint podcast, is that we want to explore why creative thoughts and ideas rule the world. Sometimes we might want to use or change or use the concept of idea and thought interchangeably because for some people they are more comfortable just saying thought or just leaving it at that. But for some people, they also want to explore the notion of the concept called idea. But for me, I think it's basically the same thing because your thought is what becomes an idea. An idea, when pursued, is what becomes your lived experience and reality. So, Kule, let's really begin this conversation. I know I will try my best to give my own take of what I think thought is. But I just want to hear your perspective first. What are thoughts?
Hmm. No, I expect this to be a true conversation because number one, it's been our practice.
Yeah.
But more so, I know you are also a deep thinker yourself. So yeah, I feel like this is like we are having our best meal today.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope
But
you can really cook a very good meal for the audience to eat.
I hope so. I hope so. By the way, let me also really appreciate our audience, and more than anything, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your feedback, your thoughts,
Yeah. They can
and
share their thoughts in
yes,
the
please.
comment
Yes,
section.
please.
Yeah,
So the question is, what are thoughts?
yeah,
Well, everybody thinks.
yeah,
Thoughts run through everyone's mind. Thought about literally everything, this or that, what food to cook, where to go. If you're a believer, where are you attending church tomorrow? If you're a student, what course are you studying? So this thought come through our minds all of the time. I don't want to be too scientific about it or delve too much into the psychology, the aspect of study, which is psychology, to think about it. But I'll keep it very simple. Every activity of the mind, if some you can say the wavelength, you can say the neural activity, ultimately creates entities, and those are thoughts. And sometimes thoughts can actually be of different forms. Thoughts can also progress in its form, and I'm sure we'll come to that. But I think we can put it very simply that it's really the activity in the mind that is going on. Sometimes, even when we're not very conscious of them, as long as someone is alive, then there's always a thought in the mind. As long as the mind is alive, then there's always an activity. There's always an activity. I was trying to investigate it to think, how much granular can we go when it comes to this? And we can try to look at it from multiple perspectives. But I would just really say that thoughts really are those. Uh, I don't know what I should call them, waves, what I should call them, uh, neurotic activities in the mind. When I was in the biological class, I remember when I was in secondary school, we talked about the nervous system. So we talk about the brain, the spinal cord, right, and then all of the nerves that that are connected to that system. And then we talked about something that's called neuron.
You're on.
Neuron, I'm sure you remember. It's like an electrical.
Yeah.
It's an org. Is a. I don't know if I should call it an organ or a tissue, but certainly a key aspect of the nervous system that more or less
The fire.
generates electrical. It can receive
Fire.
and also send on. Sorry, say it again.
I think they transmit some sparks.
Yes,
Uh,
electrical impulses. So electrical impulses send it. So, and when one neuron is communicating to another, you call that a synaptic jump. When that the constant motioning of
yeah.
activity from one to another, call it a synaptic, and then that goes on and on and on. Um, we can take different perspectives, but I think ultimately it's that activity in the mind, of which the brain is a key element. That is what a thought is at its very, very basic level. But we can go further and say a thought is uh, is an idea. You can actually say a thought is an idea that is at a particular stage of development in the mind. It might just be at its originating stage, or it might be something that has progressed along the line. But we'll go a bit more into that. Shegun, what do you think?
Well, Kunle, you've said so much, and I cannot agree less with what all that you have said. But there is a particular um, concept you brought in that really caught my attention because as you began the conversation, what really was going through my mind when you were trying to define thoughts was that idea that I was thinking, okay, maybe I will begin from this point. Then suddenly you just hit the nail right on that head. And what was that concept that you mentioned? You mentioned that sometimes thoughts can operate in form of a wave, or maybe we want to say wavelength. And for me, that then tells me that sometimes because we can all testify to this because it happens to all of us. Sometimes it appears as if thoughts operate in our brain. Then at other times it appears as if there is a whole universe of thoughts that reside in certain area in space and time, maybe outside time. Uh, that universe of thoughts, uh, you need a particular level of frequency to be able to attune to whatever is being communicated at that hour. That's
Mhm.
why you will know those who are deep thinkers, those people that we really revere in our own lives, uh, people that have shaped who we have become today. you will often find them always talking about a particular moment or particular day of the, a particular time of the day, that they are more attuned to this level of wavelength, this level of frequency, when they are able to catch what is really going on in that realm that our physical body may not necessarily be able to attune to. You know, I came across a research recently which tells us that, do you know that in the darkness of the dark, our body radiates light? That our body can actually become so luminous in a very thick darkness that you literally see, but you need a particular level of frequency to be able to see that light. That even
Because
our body,
because
yeah,
if you think about it, I mean, if we want to sound a little more scientific, we
yeah,
are we are masses of energy. It is
exactly,
a human
exactly,
is a packet of energy,
exactly,
right? And if you start to break it down and look at all the particles,
yeah,
every particle that's in motion has a particular frequency
yeah,
that they transmit.
yeah,
So which is why you touch somebody and the person feels a kind of the person can feel uh, or sometimes you might not even touching somebody, but someone is looking at you and you are probably looking elsewhere. Suddenly, you just sense that someone is looking at you and you look in that direction and you see eye to eye with somebody.
yeah.
So uh, we are all if like a mass of energy, and there's a lot of activities going on in us. This is where I like to look at scripture when the Bible says that I praise you because I am beautifully and wonderfully made. There is so much to a human that is yet to be discovered.
Exactly.
That we're just really scratching the surface. There is so much about our entire makeup, whether it is our mind or even our physical bodies or the aspect of us that is absolutely intangible. There is
And
so
also
much.
to add to that, there is even so much to what reality is than what we are currently seeing with our physical eye.
100%.
There is more to reality,
100%.
what we are seeing currently. So the idea of thoughts, sometimes we may think we actually know it, but if we really go deep down, very down, you will discover that uh, it's something that is almost indescribable, because uh, that is where everything and anything that's of value, that's
Mm.
where they come from. That's
You,
where,
you know that you can also even say that a thought is an idea
yeah,
or the faculty of thinking and reasoning.
yeah,
You can say a thought is an intellectual activity,
yeah,
but it may not even be an intellectual one. It's an activity of the mind
yeah,
because someone who has a sort of a mental challenge can still has activity,
yeah,
right? You might not say you might say, oh, the person is challenged in that aspect, but there's still activity going on there.
yeah.
A thought can be intention, it can be a concept, it can be purpose. There's so much to this that we can look at it from multiple angles. We can look at it from multiple layers, depending on how deep we want to go,
Exactly.
and yeah, and none of the things we say will be wrong.
You're wrong, exactly. Now, this now brings me to the idea of a philosopher that is called a French philosopher that is called René Descartes. Now, this man made a very profound uh, statement about the idea of thoughts. And in English, it simply means, or in Latin, it means cogito ergo sum, which means in English, I think, therefore I have.
Yeah.
Now, if we try to break that phrase down, the only reason why you are so conscious of who you are is because you are able to think.
Yes.
And that is where I believe the idea of human being a rational animal comes from. Because one of the that's not the only thing that makes you human anyway. We need to clear that so that people will not think rationality is the only essence of humanity. That is not the only essence of humanity, but is a key aspect of our humanity, our ability to think.
Yes.
He said, I think, therefore I am. Now, Kunle, you will agree, or maybe for me, that is the way it occurred to me. There was when we were growing up, maybe at the beginning, you were just living life, enjoying life, doing things the way it's come across to you. You are
Mm.
not even conscious that there is any life after death. You are not even conscious of anything. You are not conscious of evil. You are not conscious of, you're just enjoying life. And then a certain moment comes in that moment when you suddenly have a deep reflection. It's like you are able to think backward about your life, and then something hits you in that moment, and then that self-consciousness, that self-representation, that the sense of being of who you are suddenly hits you, and then you begin to contemplate about your existence, you begin to contemplate about what this life holds for you, you begin to contemplate about what is life after death going to look like for you. For me, I think that is where the idea of René Descartes is coming from, because it is in that moment that you are able to think about yourself, about your very being, that that idea of self-consciousness, self-identity begins to emanate from.
Yeah, I would even say that yes, that aspect is almost like a developed thought because, like I said, that thought can go through stages of development,
Exactly.
depending on how much investment has gone into it, and or how much, if you like, churning. It's like you're processing. It's like when you take a raw material and you start to process it, and the more you process it, the more refined it becomes. So I think thought can definitely go through those stages where it begins to develop and becomes something that is different from what it was when it initially emerged. So, and you're right. I think that so from this perspective that a thought is actually a living thing.
Yeah, it is.
A,
It's,
a thought is maybe intangible,
yeah, what can
maybe
create tangibility?
invisible,
Yeah,
but it exists. So, and I'm very conscious of the fact that something is unseen does not mean does not exist.
exactly.
A good example, Shagun, will be bacteria. You don't need to believe. You don't
Yeah.
need to say if you say, "Oh, I can't see bacteria, therefore they don't exist."
They don't exist.
Well, several trips to the toilet will convince you
Yeah.
otherwise.
Or
Because this
even a virus.
or a virus. So
Yeah,
so there are so many. The concept of existence is so multi-layered
yeah,
that it's really inexhaustible. Just like you have viruses, you have bacteria, you have all of these things, so also thought also exists. As a matter of fact, Shegun, uh, the concept of these radio waves,
yes, yes.
the fact
FM,
that,
FM,
yeah,
AM.
FM, AM, and all that bit, I can tune my radio
Yeah,
to a particular station,
yeah.
and if you do, regardless of how much distance that's between us, you pick
Just the same
exactly
wavelength. Yeah,
the same
same
because
wavelength.
it's about the wavelength.
Yeah,
So, and there are so many wavelengths,
yeah,
right? Such that there are, and on each wavelength, there are intangible existence. So you can have different type and kinds of thought of different shapes and form,
yeah.
such that a thought can enter the mind of two people at the same time or multiple people.
And that is why you see certain idea comes to your mind, and maybe you're already executing those ideas, and suddenly you just suddenly find out that some other people at some other end who were not
Yes.
even aware of where those sources of idea came from to you
Yes.
also executing or even about to, or even have even gone far further than where you are in the
Yes.
execution of that same idea. So that means if an
Absolutely.
idea comes to this world, it doesn't stay idle.
So,
It's
Shagun, this is
looking for
where
somebody to catch the idea.
I tell you, this is where I like see, I don't know. So there's something I'm saying about the scriptures now
Yeah,
that is making me to think that the scripture is actually the best form of educational material.
yeah,
It answers your psychology, your
yeah,
medical,
yeah.
your philosophical, and every layer of
Everything.
or every discipline you can ever think about.
Yeah,
So think about this. Let's in the beginning was the
yeah,
word. That is what in the beginning, the only thing that exists was the word. But a word is again something that is in existence, but you may not see it.
yeah,
In fact, you can say a word is an idea that is either expressed
yeah,
or not expressed.
yeah.
Because if a thought is in your mind and you have not expressed it, that thought already exists. You
Exactly,
just haven't revealed it to us.
exactly.
When you then express it, you call it a word.
Mm.
In the Greek sense, it's what you then call a logos.
Yeah, Vegas.
But that is not the first existence of that idea.
Yeah.
It was first in the mind,
Yes,
unexpressed, but it
yes,
always existed.
yeah,
That's why it says that that word was actually with God. Before he said anything about it, it was with him. He had it in his mind,
exactly.
but he didn't say anything. But eventually he said something about it. Then he now said, now we know what you are thinking.
Yeah,
And this fundamentally talks to me about the, if you like, the origin of thought,
mm,
the the development, the inception,
mm,
and the conception of thought,
mm.
and how that it can then take on a life
Of its own.
of its own beyond what was initially the embryonic stage of that thought.
Yeah,
It's fascinating.
yeah. So then, Kule, I think this common saying then becomes very accurate, uh, which I have had a lot of great men say it, and so I cannot really attribute it to anyone, uh, which says that the worth of a man then is dependent on the quality of his thoughts.
Yes, 100%. And that is honestly, that is, you can say, it's such a simple
Yeah,
truism.
yeah,
In fact, it's absolutely logical as well.
yeah.
Because if what you eventually reveal was what you have been thinking about,
Yeah. It shows who
then
you are.
exactly. That's why statement like as a man is in his heart,
So
so
you
is the
did
man.
exactly.
Because all that you are thinking
Yeah,
is eventually, or
that's
if
of
you like
your
to say, some
being.
of what you are thinking
Yeah,
is ultimately what you say
yeah,
or act.
exactly.
So, so the action and the speech are later stages. They are later events.
Mm.
There was always something in the mind. Now, that thing, whether it came because of your DNA composition, whether it came through because of your experiences, whether it came because of your nurture or
Yeah,
nature, it
yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah,
But it certainly exists inside of you.
yeah,
And that is who you are, really.
exactly. So I would like to go to the next phase of this conversation, which is to try to explore whether thoughts. I know we've touched a little bit of it earlier on, but I just want us to anchor our conversation a little bit more on that. which is whether thoughts are ideas in our mind. Are they actually ideas in our mind? Or do we want to say they are just they are just things that resides in a particular wavelength, just like we said, that we need to connect to? Or can we say both? It could also be both. It could also be something that is firing within our mind, or something we need to connect to be on that wavelength, to be able to operate at that level. So what do you say about that? Are thoughts ideas in our mind, or are they something that we need to connect to on a particular wavelength?
Let me use this, if you like, this experiment to describe this.
Yeah,
Imagine, and to everyone who is listening to us right now, just imagine that you hold in your hand a cube of sugar.
yeah,
Now, you take that cube of sugar, you put it on the table, and you break it. You more or less grind it until you now begin to see tiny, tiny dust of that sugar. Okay. Well, those tiny, tiny dots,
yeah.
are they still sugar? I bet they are.
Yeah.
So, this is how I see relationship between thought and idea and thought.
Yeah,
Because the grain of that cube of sugar is still sugar.
yeah,
If all of the grains come together to form a cube of sugar,
yeah,
you're still talking about sugar.
yeah,
But one has taken a form
yeah.
that has been defined,
Mm.
that you can now say a cube
Oh,
of
sugar.
sugar.
Mm.
But it's still sugar.
It's sugar.
It will still taste as sweet as that tiny grain.
That's
Chemically, if you take it to the laboratory and perform your experiment, you find that they are exactly the same in terms of their properties. And this is the thing I see about thoughts and ideas. Ideas can become thoughts, or should I say, thoughts can become ideas.
Yeah,
But at the same time, an idea at a particular stage, you can actually say that's a thought. For example, if you're telling me that, oh, Kunle, let's start a new broadcast where we are reaching out to all the CEOs in town, I can say, Shegun, that's such a brilliant thought.
yeah,
But I can also say, Shegun, that's a brilliant idea.
exactly.
So sometimes, in terms of language, we can use them interchangeably.
Exactly.
But we can also look at them from a developmental point of view that, that initial thought that came to mind has now developed and has become an idea, or
Yeah,
should I say, let me use this word, a concept of a thought or an idea. Because concept means that that idea has come together that to now have a particular form
yeah,
of which it is now expressible in a tangible way.
yes,
Because
yes,
if I just say grain, sugar, grain, sugar, you see, even that, a grain is a thought.
yeah,
Sugar is a thought. If I associate them,
yeah.
grain
Oh,
of sugar,
yeah,
immediately a picture is formed in your mind.
exactly.
So now the very root, if you like, the particles of that thought
Yeah,
are those grain.
yeah,
But even grain can also be a thought, an idea that has, because I can just say dust,
mm,
but dust come together can form a grain.
yeah.
Grain come together can form a cube. You see, so it can be as as broken down as we want to take it. But
Exactly.
if we try to think in terms of usefulness, which is what is important,
Yeah,
then I would say that ideas does have a life cycle.
yeah.
And in the course of that life cycle, a thought can actually become an idea because of its stage in development.
So, in other words, we can rightly conclude that thought changes our imagination, into tangible reality.
100%. You know, Shegun, think about it. If I say, now this is one a good experiment that if I say I have a dog
Yeah,
and it's a yellow dog, immediately an image forms in your mind.
that,
Whatever kind of dog you like comes to your mind immediately. Now
that
there are hundreds of species of dogs,
does.
but and I've not mentioned any particular type.
Yeah,
But once I say there's a dog, whatever idea of dog or thought
yeah,
of dog in your mind,
yeah.
maybe
Come on.
maybe
Yeah,
because of recency,
yeah,
maybe because of an experience of being chased by a dog,
yeah,
maybe because you kept a dog sometime,
yeah,
an idea, a picture comes to your mind.
exactly.
But a dog, you know, even you can start to break that down.
Yeah,
Four legs,
yeah,
backing,
yeah,
ears, and you
yeah,
begin to see pictures
yes.
that begins to come to the mind. And this is literally how the mind begins to develop the thought that come to it. It begins to develop it. Now, you may ask yourself, at what point does that happen? Well, see, the mind is such a powerful idea. I mean, sorry, it's such a powerful um, tool that only God could have thought of giving that to a human being, honestly. Because if honest, it's only if I've thought about it long and short now, only God's brilliance could create that thing we call the mind.
That
Such that,
machine we call the mind.
yes, that machine we call the mind.
That human machine, biological
Oh my
machine.
God. It is capable of the unbelievable.
Yeah,
Your mind can take you now beside the seashore,
yeah,
and you're just walking by the seashore.
exactly,
A mind can take on a picnic right now.
exactly.
A mind can take you literally to Australia.
Yeah,
1,000 miles. In fact, your mind can take you to Pluto
yeah,
and you will not feel cold.
yeah,
In fact, and if you start to, and some people can start to feel cold just by thinking of Pluto.
yeah.
These are all the capability of the mind that is, I can just say, is just a divine endowment.
Now, Kunle, what you have just raised, the ideas you have just raised now is making me to think about the idea of creation and then the idea of God who has Zoe in himself. You know, he has eternal life in himself,
Mm.
very life that we breathe. And at the creation of man, he molded the dust, formed an image, a lifeless image, and then the scripture said, and God breathed on that image the breath of life. And that image became a living creature. So it wasn't the body that made the image alive. It wasn't the creation. It wasn't, maybe I don't have the right word to say what I'm saying now. It wasn't that image that was molded. That is the essence of that image.
Yeah.
It was that life that came into that image that gave life to the image itself. And you should also remember that image came from God Himself.
Yeah.
Now, so the question I want to ask now may sound a little bit religious, scientific, or even philosophical. Where can we then say that ideas and thoughts come from? Where do they come from? Do they really have a, a specific location where they are kind of thrown to people? Hey, catch your own, you take your own. Where can we say these things comes from? Where?
I think that's actually a very difficult question.
It is. But let's try our best.
But let's try. And I really wish our audience can also kind of, if you can chat and throw
Yeah,
your thoughts, please do so. Let's hear what you think, because we are not presenting ourselves as omniscient. No,
Appreciate. Yeah.
we are absolutely incapable of that property.
Yeah.
All we're trying to explore this. So please, by all means, let's hear what you think. But thinking about it, I would like to suggest that thoughts probably come from multiple sources.
Yeah.
So I'm asking myself. So let's look at the stages of growth of a human being.
Yeah.
When a human is in the fetus stage, still a fetus, do they think at that stage? The answer is I don't know. I don't know because I can't remember I can't remember any thought I had when I was a fetus. But at the same time, I would never say absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because
You cannot. You can never say.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's the honest answer. But however, if we all look back, there will be a time when a thought came to our mind.
Yeah.
Now, I would probably say that even what we call thought,
Yeah.
it might even be part of our programming.
Yeah.
For example, what made a child to cry? The moment, why wasn't a child laughing? When you give out a child, right, why is that child not laughing?
Yeah.
Why is it crying?
Yeah.
Is that because the child suddenly is aware that the environment has changed
Yeah.
and is trying to respond to that change, but in an inexpressible
Yeah.
manner, such
Yeah.
that it then comes out as crying?
Yeah.
How does the child know to latch to the teat of a mom's breast and start to suck?
Yeah.
I would say those things, they are, if you like, uh, pre-installed knowledge.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like a human being is essentially of two parts. There are pre-installed information, and then there are acquired information.
Yeah.
In which case, you can say there are pre-installed thoughts,
Yeah.
and then there are acquired ones, the ones that then come to you from your
Those
environment.
those pre-installed information are what we could now say are encoded in our DNA.
Encoded in our DNA. That's a better word. They are like they are encoded thought because ultimately, I mean, even information is thought,
Yeah.
but then somebody must have encoded it in there.
Yeah.
So I would say that the very origin of thought must be God.
Yeah. Yeah.
First, put those things in our mind that this is the idea of a human being.
Yeah.
So when you are born, this is how you must function.
Yeah.
A human being must be God's original thinking, so that when the zygote is forming and then becoming and growing, you have the fetus developing and all that, and the differentiation start to happen, so that you're having hand and feet being defined, head being formed.
Yeah.
Those are divine thought coming into action. Somebody must have programmed it that way, that this is how a human being will develop. So you can see God's thought about human being manifested. In fact, this is why I like Psalm 138 that says that I thank you, I praise you, Lord, because I am
Yeah. Funny.
beautifully and wonderfully made. He said, you are thinking about me. He said, how vast is the sum of your thoughts? They are even past finding out.
Yeah.
So it was the thought of God that generated a human being. So a human being is actually God's thought that is in its stages of development.
Yeah.
Therefore, it was thought that produced man.
Yeah.
Man, a human being, originates from thought and is actually thought manifesting.
Yeah.
Therefore, I can then say that the origin of the thought in man is first and foremost divine.
Yeah.
However, there are multiple thoughts that can then come to the mind either by education.
Yeah.
When I say education, formal or informal,
Yeah.
our parents they begin to say, "No, don't do that." A child bites the nipple of mom, and the mom just tap his tongue, like then the child does not do it again. then somehow, so a thought has been communicated so that the child, as young as the child is, now knows, oh, that's not something to do. So you can see that thought definitely, I would say, have multiple origins, of which the divine origin has to be preeminent. That's my thinking on
Yeah.
it.
Now, Kunle, uh, there is a debate that has been on for, I would even say, for millennia, and that is the debate about the chick and and the the egg.
And the egg.
The debate is whether it was the chick that arrived first, or was it the egg? Which one was it, the chick or the egg? You know, to look at it philosophically, that's a very difficult thing to crack. And for thousands of years that humans have existed and they've debated about that, they've not been able to come to a conclusion whether it was the egg that came first or whether it was the chick. But recently, in recent time, thanks to science, that is why for me, I don't believe there is any dichotomy between religion and science. I believe religion created science, and science is supposed to help religion shed light to some of those things that are just existing in the realm of assumption. Uh, Science helps us to concretize some of the things that we are just only having a premonitions about. And that is for me the reason why I love to embrace science in some sense when it comes to certain ideas that we don't really have a very clear answers to. And this is what the scientists came up with. You know, they said in their discovery, they said the debate has finally been settled. So I'm glad that it was settled they settled it in our own generation. So we didn't have to pass it to the next generation to begin to ponder about. And this is the idea they came up with. They said there is a particular protein in an egg that it can never be produced. That particular protein can never form the shell of an egg without it first existing in a chick. So without debate, without discovery that that particular protein can only exist when a chick is alive. Now, without that protein being present in the chick, it cannot effectively produce the shell that will hold the egg as a whole. So which means that debate was successfully settled. So which now brings me to the idea of where do ideas come from? I believe you have said it, but some people, some scientific people may not really agree with us, but that's fine.
But
That's okay.
Shagun, I don't even think I see. I've never had any issue
Yeah.
about the egg or the chicken thing. It has never
Yeah,
been an
but
issue for me.
it's something that is good for our imagination. It allows us to just allow our
It
imagination to
certainly
roll
is.
around.
It certainly is. But thinking about this thing,
Yeah,
that question can also be asked another way.
yeah, yeah.
Is it the fruit before the or the tree? Which one that comes
Exactly,
first,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Uh, is it the baby or the mother?
before that.
And this is where sometimes we human beings, we can be very humorous,
Yeah,
and we can sometimes over exaggerate
our thinking.
our thinking and our sense of self.
Yeah,
Right. So if somebody's and sometimes we also misconstrue ideas
yeah,
and protect our error.
Our errors. Yeah.
So, what if God isn't religious
Yeah.
and has no interest in religion?
Yeah.
And what if God is not only scientific, but the origin of science and modern science? Because when we say science, science is just a word that means knowledge.
Yeah.
So, if that is the case, who is a scientist?
Yeah.
Does my great grandfather who knows how to do pottery, is he a scientist?
Yeah.
But he certainly has knowledge of pottery.
Exactly.
So sometimes we want to accrue to ourselves certain sense of importance
Yeah.
so that we can sound a little special and different to other people and polish our ego
Right.
in some way.
Yeah.
But frankly speaking, this and sometimes somebody can you can be arguing with the obvious
Yeah.
and see if you are not the first to know about something,
Yeah.
if you are not the first to interact with something,
Yeah.
then you cannot have the first-hand experience of that thing.
Exactly.
God has said, listen, I am the first.
Yeah. And the
I
last.
am preeminent.
Yeah.
I exist before all things.
Yeah.
So if everything came after me, whatever I tell you about them is the first witness account.
Yeah.
Therefore, if God already said that it is the animal and then its embryo
Yeah.
and offspring,
Yeah.
then what's the argument about?
Exactly.
Except that somebody now thinks he knows more than that, and he
I
wants
want
to
to
take
confuse
us,
one of us.
yeah, and he wants to take us on an excursion to waste our time, really, to waste our time for nothing but for his own ego.
And
For what?
for me, I think that simply justifies what God had already done. God
Yeah,
created the animals first before
yeah.
the offsprings.
Do we think that God was going along in our own confusion? He was never interested. He was just saying, okay, I'll let you go roundabout, go, and then eventually you come back to my what I already told you. See,
Can you imagine if human had started as embryo?
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it also depends on people's school of thought
Yeah,
and whatever they choose to believe. Because and this is the goodness of God. God gives everyone the permission to believe whatever they want to believe.
exactly.
But except that you're responsible for what you believe. And you cannot now shy away from your outcomes.
Yeah,
But you see, I was in a room with some of my friends, in my area, my domain, which is in the field of computing. So we were just because so I remember there's one of them who is from Spain, another one from I don't remember, maybe Greece so we're just asking the question. I said, and there was a carpet in the place. I said, if I take a key, one of my, a key from the bunch of keys, and
yeah,
I place it at one corner of the carpet, and I told you that there is a key under the carpet,
yeah,
and this is its exact location. I give you that, I volunteer that information to you.
yeah,
You know that you can accept my information,
yeah.
or you can say, no, 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 and start to do probability. What is the probability that this key is in any particular position on the carpet? And you can now formulate a long calculation. You can start to also do some other bodies of knowledge to say, what is the probability that the key is even there? Or you can simply take my word for it, go to that location and pick that key. Now, who is going to get the key first? The person that has accepted my information and taken it, or somebody who is still trying to compute the probability that that key is in a particular location? See, maybe after 10 years, you eventually solve your problem, you solve your equation and find it. Or somebody who, on the very first day, in the very first minute, went to where I said the key was, open it, take it, and goes away, open the door, and lives his life. My conclusion to them was this: you can choose to accept God's position on everything, or you can pretend to be so clever
Yeah.
and continue to waste your time. Call it science, call it anything else. That's on you.
So, Kunle, now let's move a little further from where we're coming from, and that is, let's just take a moment and just look at our world today. Let's imagine some of the most outstanding things we have seen in our world today, some of the most profound, some of the most phenomenal things that we've seen in our world today, some of the most amazing and beautiful things that we've witnessed in our world today. Can we then say, because obviously we know that it is ideas that have created all this beauty, all these amazing spectacles that we are seeing in the world today. And of course, you can also look at it from the negative point of view, all the evils, all the abnormality, all the chaos, all the wars, all the suffering that we are seeing in the world today can also be created, can also be said to have been a creation of the negative use of ideas, the negative use of our thought. So can we then agree if it will be a thing, if it will be a thing to agree to, that do ideas really rule the world? Does idea rule the world?
Shegun, you are touching a very big pulse there.
Yeah.
Let me share my preamble. What I will say is just a preamble because I know you have a lot to add to that. First and foremost,
Yeah.
the world is ruled by the ideas of men,
Yeah.
both dead and alive.
Life. Yeah.
In fact, I can even say that maybe the greatest influence we have
And
in our world
dead men.
are the ideas of dead
Dead
men.
men. One of my professors had once said that before, that we are being ruled by dead people.
Yes. So if you take the Bible,
Yeah.
all the authors of the Bible are dead.
Dead. Yeah. And we are still running with the ideas today.
All the characters in it are dead. If you take the Quran,
Yeah.
all the writers
Yeah.
are dead.
And if you come to philosophy,
If you take philosophy, what are you talking about?
all
Kant,
the founding fathers.
Aristotle,
Yeah.
Plato,
Yeah.
Archimedes,
Yeah.
Pythagoras,
Yeah.
dead men.
Yeah. They're all dead men.
Even the idea of democracy
Yeah.
was an idea developed in Greece.
Yeah.
And that idea is running the world and has run the world for the better part of nearly 1,000 years.
Nearly 1,000 years. Yeah.
But it was the idea of men who are no longer with us.
Yeah.
The idea of vehicle,
Yeah.
of the way we travel, the way we arrange our marriages.
Yeah.
These are ideas of people who are no longer with us.
The idea of even religion itself.
Even religion,
Yes.
from whether it is my forefathers who are putting iron down and bowing down to it,
Yeah.
or people who build monasteries,
Yeah.
or people who build cathedrals. These are ideas of dead men.
Do you know that some of our Christian brothers will never believe that for almost 400 years, there were no physical buildings that you can point to as churches?
Yes,
Yes, Christianity existed.
yes, yes, because the idea of even
Yeah.
building a place of worship was also an idea of dead people.
Yeah.
So it means that the vast majority of what we have right now
Yeah.
are the products, the what was handed down to us by people who are not here.
Yeah.
And ideas, so that means ideas themselves are stronger than their death.
Exactly.
If not, the ideas will perish with them the moment
Exactly.
they die. So
exactly.
these ideas are definitely stronger than death. And
Yes.
it also means that these ideas outlive men.
And they are also replaceable too.
Oh, most certainly. Ideas are
Better
replaceable.
idea can uproot another idea and then replace it.
Ideas can have shelf life, meaning it's
Yeah.
here for now. Okay, think about the way I mean, I saw the pictures of my parents when they were, bachelors and spinsters, and I look at the trousers they were wearing, the
Abi Jokoto Milabika.
the opening of the trouser is bigger than the shoe. They call them bell bottoms. And at that time, if you are wearing bell bottom,
Yeah,
you are the person in town.
yeah,
Whereas if you well, guess what? I've seen some people wearing bell bottoms now again. Whereas at the time, it was this very tiny trousers. When you wear those trousers that are so like they are just grabbing your screen. That
yeah.
was what was in vogue. So ideas they can come and go. They
And
can
they
be
can
substituted.
resurrect.
They can be picked up again, and so on and so forth. Ideas can not be destroyed.
Yeah, they can only change form.
They can only be exchanged. They can only change form. And in fact, ideas produce everything.
Yeah. Unlike
And
unlike Miles Moreau would say, there are actually no real new ideas.
no, no,
It's just a
no.
combination of the old ideas. You're
In
just
fact,
finding it in a new way, and then you think it is new.
I tell you what, just to be very transparent, I'm actually quoting some of his sayings in what
Yeah.
I'm saying. And one of the things he said was that the only way to defeat a bad idea is with a better idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody will be willing to listen to you only when you have given them audience.
Yeah.
So, do you have you seen two people arguing before? The real issue is this: both of them are not feeling heard.
Yeah. Exactly.
If somebody patiently say, "Okay, tell me what you think,"
Yeah.
suddenly the temperature
Now,
and the energy with which that person is, we calm down because you now
exactly.
say, "Okay, this
Okay,
person needs to
so
right." So
at
I
least
don't need to
somebody is able to hear me out now.
exactly. But because the person is trying to get his voice across,
Yeah.
and the other voice is trying to dominate it,
Yeah.
it also goes another pitch,
Yeah.
goes another wavelength, and but if people can just say, you know what, tell me what you think, share your idea with me, I'm willing to listen,
Yeah.
we will resolve a lot of issues
Yeah.
because you cannot defeat an idea by shouting it down,
Exactly.
and it is our ideas that produce our ways of life, which is called your our philosophy, our way of thinking, and our
Yeah.
way of seeing the world.
Mm.
So ideas indeed
Yeah.
rule the world, and they are so powerful that you can't fight an idea.
Yeah. You can't fight it.
In fact, if you kill somebody because of an idea,
Yeah.
you create something that they call martyrdom.
Not at all. Yeah.
Because that
The
idea
ideas
now,
will live forever.
yes, that idea now become empowered by blood.
Exactly.
You give it new life,
Fine. Yeah. You give it new life.
and that idea will
And
not
begin
go
to
away.
find adherents to
Yes,
that ideology.
that idea, people now say, you mean this idea is so good that you want to kill somebody for it?
You actually killed somebody for it.
Then we will believe it.
Yeah.
Now, those people can go into hiding for a while, they can go
While,
underground,
for a
but
while. Yeah.
that idea will never leave.
Exactly. Exactly.
And ideas can also be generationally traded.
Yes.
A generation can pass it on to another,
Yes.
and it goes on and on. And when you put people under pressure for their ideas, that idea multiplies.
Yeah.
That is why in the first century, when they tried to destroy all the believers,
Yeah.
they could not.
Yeah.
The more they were killing them, feeding them to lions, the more the idea, they believe even more that this thing is true. They were willing to give their lives for the idea that Jesus has come to transform the world, and that they were the eyewitness account. They were the witnesses. It was their pleasure to give their very blood for it. The idea multiplied so much so that even people that were opposed to that idea started to embrace it. But the one thing to note for sure is this, just like we were saying before, that God is the source of divine ideas. You see, just like we have laterally ideas, ideas that come afterwards, the same way, there are also original ideas.
Yeah.
And original means the first idea that existed.
Yeah.
Now, if an idea is termed as a first idea, then it must be by somebody who was on the scene before everybody else.
Exactly.
So God's ideas are not laterally ideas. They are original,
Yeah, the first
first
principle.
ideas.
The first principles.
They are called the first principle or the precept. They're the very first thought. When a rock was ever to come into existence, it was God that thought about it first and brought it to existence. So when God then tells you about rock, He is not giving you an opinion. He's giving you the original account of it. Now, guess what, Shagun? You cannot improve on an original.
Yes.
Oxygen
Yeah.
is an original. No matter what you do, you still want oxygen. Look, go and live in Mars, go and live in Australia, you
Good
still want
on the moon.
oxygen
Yeah. Now,
because oxygen is an original idea.
yeah. Now, Kunle, just to further give credence to all that you've said, I just want to look at ideas and the power they hold in looking at United States of America, for example.
Mm.
Uh, United States of America is about maybe 200 years plus,
250, I think they celebrated at 250 last year.
200 years, 200
200,
years.
200, I think 250, yes.
And if you look at the creation of United States of America, you will see the creation of an idea firsthand, because whether you like it or not, United States of America is a logical creation of what is existing today. People thought it out. You know, there are nations have existed before. Maybe nations have also existed in that manner, but the way USA, United States of America, was thought out is more intentional, more rational, more fundamental, and it was purposeful. The idea was, this is what has happened in other places. We don't want this to happen in our own nation. This is how we are going to go about it. They thought it through. They supplied all the resources, all the institution that is needed to back it up, to give it strength. They did all that. And then it has become what it has become today. Not to say that United States of America is a perfect country, but there are so many good things that people like us have come to appreciate in this nation. Because personally, I wouldn't have been where I am today without some of the influences that I've received from the United States of America.
Mm.
It was first, I've had some education in Nigeria, but I couldn't really translate my education into my real life experience. I had education, but it wasn't translatable. I couldn't see the connects between the education I received in Nigeria and how I need to go about my daily life as an entity. But when I had opportunity to have the same education in the United States of America, I suddenly realized I can be taught something in the classroom today, and the next day, the following day, I can literally see the applicability of that same idea in how I run my life. And that is what has motivated me. It is what has, inspired me to create so many things I have been able to create today. I've created Besidal, companionship networking. I've created School of Transformational Leadership. I've created Leadership Digest, Africana Leadership Digest. I've created other platforms. I've started writing books, and I know there are so many books that are in the pipeline that are coming. This is what I believe idea does. It does create a different world for all of us. And look at, for example, the idea of Dubai, for example, the United Arab Emirates.
Yes.
You know, there is a popular picture they often show. They often try to show when they are describing the new Dubai that you see today, when the place was an entire desert. And you look at it, and you look at what it is today, and then you see the beauty of an idea in place. Their former, what is it, Emir, thought about it. He pictured it. He said, in 50 years, this is the Dubai that I want to see. Well, he wasn't able to fully execute it, but his son came on board and fully manifested that idea. You know, that for me is still amazing. And to also let you know, I know we've talked about this in our previous podcast, that sometimes we think that an idea only tries because there is a particular way to do it. But in reality, there could be different approach to implementing an idea, and it will produce the same awesome results. And that is what we have seen in Dubai. That is what we have seen in Singapore. That is what we are seeing in the United States of America. That is what we are seeing in China. That is what we are seeing in India. These different countries, Japan, Germany, United Kingdom, they have different methodology of implementing their ideas. Yes. And yet, their ideas are not perfect, but at least they've been able to produce some amazing result that we all know that this cannot but be a good and great ideas. And that is to tell you that there is not just one form of way whereby we can achieve a particular idea. An idea can be executed in different form.
Absolutely.
And it will still produce the same amazing result. Now, Kunle, I want us to take a step further. Now, I know ideas are very powerful. And you've just mentioned something about martyrdom. And we know that idea or martyrdom is linked to an idea. So the question I want to ask you, how does an idea move to an ideology? How does it become, how does an idea take a whole new life of its own? Does it really mean that every idea that becomes an ideology necessarily have to have been built or been vetted through the blood? Does it always mean that always has to happen? How does it move from the notion of an idea to an ideology?
No, that's a great question, and I will start responding to it this way, and I'll let you then crystallize it even further. Let me start by saying that an original thought, like you're saying that time, is a precept.
Yeah.
I'll call it first principle, but it's because it's an original one.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of this broadcast, we said that ideas or thought have various stages of existence.
Yeah.
Now, now imagine that a thought in its original state continues to grow, and you begin to And that original thought, that first thought,
yeah,
now goes through yet another stage of conception or development. Then you can actually say that a precept then becomes an idea.
yeah,
Just the same way that when the male gamete and the female gamete of animals or human beings first meet, the very first state, you call it zygote, if my biology is still correct.
yeah,
But zygote is still fetus. And well, in fact, maybe you say it is not yet a fetus because you can't, it's not yet tangible. It is the first time when fertilization
yeah,
actually occurs.
of course.
And then it begins to grow into something that you can now say, oh, this is now a fetus, another stage of development.
Yeah,
And people who do biology can even say there are so many things going on. There's meiosis, there is this and that, and continuous cell division. Be that as it may, and I'll just focus now just on the development of thought. So a conceived precept, then you can say that's actually what an idea is. Now, when that idea becomes goes through another phase of conceptualization, or shall I say development, then it can become what you call a concept. So we're trying to look at, if you like, notable stages
yeah,
in development of thought: precept, idea, concept.
yeah,
Now, concept, by the way, is actually what people can call imagination. An image is not forming in the
yeah.
mind.
You have not been able to concretize it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's now
has not become
it's
concrete.
it's become concrete. It's coming together. Now, if you accept that concept, something happens. It becomes what we call a conviction. You say, I have a conviction about this thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
If you go forward and accept your conviction,
yeah,
then it forms a belief.
yeah,
Now say, this is my belief about. I mean, I believe. That's why you have people say, well, I believe X, Y, Z.
yeah,
Now, when that belief is now accepted, it forms or becomes what we call ideology. At that point, I think that the horse has already left, has already bolted.
At the point of becoming an ideology is when people begin to say, wait a minute, it's like something is happening here. And at
It,
that
it,
time, it is
that
too late.
belief
It is
has
too late to kill.
exactly, it has become full blown. It has metastasized, and I'm sorry, you can't rein it back again.
Yeah,
The genie is out of the bottle at that point.
out of the bottle. Yeah,
It becomes an ideology. It means it now literally shaped the way of thinking.
yeah,
It,
yeah,
it now literally begins to define your philosophy.
yeah.
So, but ideology is a mature state of thought
Yeah,
when it has now your mind fully believe this is right, this is true,
yeah,
and at that point, your mind begins to defend it.
yeah,
In fact, your mind will protect it
yeah.
at the expense of anything else.
Anything else. And you are even willing to give up your life for
You are
it.
willing to sacrifice for it.
Yeah.
You are willing to endure pain for it. That is the power of ideology.
Yeah, I cannot agree less with you, even though the way I have conceived it is not exactly the way you've been able to analyze it, but maybe in midway along the way, that was when my own ideas began to form. For me, I thought that when an idea, I didn't bring it up from an idea to a concept, from concept to a conviction, but I began right away from conviction because when your idea becomes something that is so real to you that you have the conviction that this is what that is ought to be, or this is how our society is ought to be. This is how our community is supposed to be organized. And you are so convinced about that idea that you held so strongly in your mind, and it becomes a conviction. And then when you are convicted about it for so long, and your conviction also have to have its own tenacity.
Yeah.
It has to be prolonged.
It has a timeline.
Yeah, so it has to be there for as long as you even exist. So when it comes to that level that it has become so tenacious that you cannot be convinced otherwise about it, then I feel that it begins to gain traction from other people who something must be in this thing that this man believes so much that he's not ready to change his opinion about it.
But you know something, Shegun?
Yeah.
At that point is where even I thought can be very dangerous.
Yes, exactly.
Assuming that ideology,
that is where radicalization comes.
Yes. Assuming that conviction is actually born in error.
Yeah, it's an error. Yeah.
Let me get an example. And say I had a webinar recently when we were talking about exactly this thing, and I like to do an experiment when it comes to this because I feel like those experiments bring it to life.
Yeah.
So I was using the concept of flags.
Yeah.
And I began by original thought by saying, okay, red, blue, white. Blue is blue.
Yeah, blue is blue, red is red.
Red is red, white is white. These are like very, you can't argue too much about it. There's no, you can, it's just what it is. Okay. And then I also said, okay, well, there's this idea of a rectangle. Rectangle is rectangle, right? Regardless of your dimension, rectangle is rectangle. Piece of cloth.
Yeah.
Piece of cloth.
Yeah.
Rectangular piece of cloth.
Yeah.
And now I'm bringing those two together.
Yeah.
Rectangle and piece of cloth.
Yeah.
Okay. And then these colors are on it, on that piece of cloth. That is rectangle.
Yeah.
And I ask the question, what flag do I have? And more importantly, whatever flag you think I have, meet me there next week at 9 a.m. We're going to have a very important meeting. Where are we all going to end up?
Yeah.
It all depends on with which flag you think I have. So if I ask our audience now, so what flag? Where are we meeting?
Yeah.
Somebody who thinks United States is the best country in the world will think, oh, it is nothing but United States. Because United States has the blue, red, and white. Yes. Somebody who loves Britain will say, oh, no, that is nothing but the British flag.
Yeah.
Somebody who loves Netherlands will say, oh, no, that must be somewhere in, maybe even that it must be Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Somebody who loves France will say, oh, are we meeting at Champs-Élysées?
Yeah.
In Paris?
Yeah.
Somebody who loves, which other country has blue and red, blue and white, can even say, oh, Liberia. You never disrespect Africa. That must be Liberian flag. Yeah. But which country are we meeting? Yeah. Where, and you're going to, and I give all of you money, $5,000, just enough to take you on a first class trip, and you must all travel first class. Yeah. And I'm not going to refund your money.
Wow.
So where are you going to end up? This is really the power of ideas. Yeah. Because an idea, even if it is so well believed and you are deeply convinced about it, may not be right. Yeah. And you can end up in the wrong destination.
That's why we have terrorists today.
Yes, you can literally argue with somebody and say, no, 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 no. You can take the best train, the best flight to take you to that your idea, end of that idea, but you may end up in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And when we have a meeting, you may not be there
Yeah.
because because you had the wrong idea. Well, there's nothing wrong with blue. There
Yeah.
was nothing wrong with white.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with red.
Yes.
But how your ideas came together, what's called conception. When your idea became a concept,
Yeah.
it formed your type of flag,
Yeah.
which you now became very convinced in that it must be America. And you can actually fly to New York.
Yeah.
But alas, we are not meeting in New York.
Wow.
And you can be very convinced about it. In fact, I mean, you can even formulate a lot of ideology on it.
Yeah.
I said that you are wrong. You missed the destination. You missed the concept.
Yeah.
You misconceived it. And that, Shegun, that is the root of misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And you can have 10 people arriving at 10 different locations, all because the concept of that thought or idea
Mm.
was missed.
Mm.
We call that thing misunderstanding. We call it misconception.
It's not
And
such
therefore, wrong destination, wrong arrival.
long arrival. Now, Kunle, let's now begin to bring our ideas to, we are also this podcast in itself is an idea in itself. Now, let's try to now make it more tangible for our people. For some people, they believe that all that you need to execute your plan is money. Whereas for some people, they believe all that you need to execute a plan is to have a solid idea. So, which means sometimes there could be this clash between money and idea. Which one should we hold as the most important? Is it money or is it idea?
Well, money itself is an idea. However, having said that,
Okay, okay, you are coming somewhere because the
ah,
idea of paper itself is an idea.
well, yes, coin,
Yeah,
cowrie,
yeah,
trade by
yeah,
barter.
yeah. Now
These are
we
all
are
like
even doing cashless. Now
cashless,
we only have it on our electronics,
digital.
digital.
These are all ideas.
Yeah,
And see, this is where I keep saying that whenever any thought or any idea comes to mind,
yeah,
to me, I have two favorite questions to ask.
yeah,
And I've added a third one, but I'll mention the two.
yeah.
The first is, where did that idea come from?
Oh, yeah,
This thought, where is it coming from? What is the source of it?
yeah.
And number two, what does it mean?
What does it mean?
The third one, I will reserve that. What does it, where does it come from? Where was it? Because if you, the source of idea is even more important than the idea itself.
Exactly, exactly.
Because what I would suggest that what you want in your mind is original ideas. You don't want laterally ideas. So that's why I use the idea of the flag. If you now want to know which flag of the country I really have in my mind, what is the best way to get it?
Your source.
You have to come back to the source and say, excuse me, I don't want to assume.
Yeah,
Because what most people do is they assume on the idea and then go and form their own concept based on whatever influence dominates their mind, based
exactly.
on their biases,
Yeah.
on their preferences, or their background, or their
But
nurturing, or their education, all of which they call those things noise that affect the original thought in the way it has been presented to you. So even business, for example, the idea of is it money or idea? Well, These are again noises that come that affect the idea of, okay, I want to produce a particular service to help educate people. That is
Yeah.
the pure thinking, if you like.
Yeah.
But then you can now have a noise to say, unless I have the best camera, I cannot start.
Mm.
Or unless I have 10 staff that are going to be helping me to now take the snippet, I cannot start. Well, you can introduce any noise
Mm.
in between
Mm.
into the medium through which that idea travels,
Mm.
and they can create distortions.
Yeah.
They create fragmentation. They can create what they call what's that in physics when light passes through prism, diffraction.
Fraction.
Diffraction.
Is it diffraction or refraction?
There's refraction rather. So you can have all these things, and look, the source and what does it mean? Because then you now have the right concept.
Yeah.
When you have the right concept, you are okay to be so convinced about it.
Yeah.
And when you are so convinced, you can also strengthen your belief and have an ideology about it because the source is right
Yeah.
and your meaning of it is right.
Wow.
You have not missed the concept. So, and Shagun, what you said that let us apply this to things to practically.
Yeah.
I can apply that to marriage.
Yeah.
I can apply that to business.
Yeah.
I can apply that to parenting.
Yeah.
I can apply that to even relationship with people. How do I value people?
Yeah.
Assuming that in my mind, Shagun, assuming that I think that you came from salamander
Mm.
and then somehow you made it to become a particular ape.
Mm.
And then you are so lucky that you now became Australopithecus erectus. And now you are now Homo
Alopecia
sapien.
erectus.
Yes. And you're now Homo sapien. You're now making it. You're now making it. And do you know that can tell me how to value you?
Yeah, exactly.
That at the end of the day, you're still just an animal.
Yeah.
And you are not worth to me more than an animal. After all, in your former existence, you are just a salamander. So I can define your value based on that
Yeah.
and never treat you
As
with the
you
kind of dignity that
deserve.
belongs to you.
Yeah.
But assuming that my thinking is this person, Shagun, is God's image.
Mm.
God treats him as his own exact value.
Yeah.
I must treat him the way I treat God.
Mm.
Look at those two places where I arrive at
Yeah.
in my valuation of you.
Yeah.
So I can now think, should I allow pipe-borne water to come into his house? Absolutely, because this is so treasured.
God in the human form.
Yeah, God in human form. He needs to have the best
Yeah.
house, best electricity. Or if I think he was once an ape, if an ape is on the tree, what do I care?
Yeah.
So electricity, I don't care.
You should even be thankful that
You should be thankful that I even gave him a house at all. So it can affect my valuation of you. And this all goes down to where I think my idea comes from and what my understanding of it is. It will lead to my destination, guaranteed.
and this is why our podcast on citizenship is very, very important because the idea of how you value the citizen, how do you see
Shagun, think about it. If I believe that, and this is true,
Yeah.
if somebody believes that a woman is just an acquisition,
Yeah.
once you have worked and you have some money,
it as a property.
then you can go and acquire a wife, and you can use the word acquire a wife,
Oh,
just like the way you acquire your bicycle. So if you have acquired it like a cloth, if your acquisition is now talking at you, you can say, "Is it me you're talking to like that?"
Yeah.
The next thing is a slap.
Yeah.
Because to you, that person is not as worth, it doesn't have the same worth as you. Therefore, you can give you some ill treatment.
Yeah.
This is exactly how some people look at the female.
Yeah.
And so to batter them, to punch them, it's not a problem. In fact, in their mind, they don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
Guess what, Shagun? The people in that community will even say, now apologize to your husband. The man that has just given you,
giving you blow and
that has just battered you.
deformed your face.
Because collectively in that society, they
Yeah.
think this woman, this is just a property that you
Yeah.
have acquired.
Yeah.
Can you see how this can literally
Yeah.
affect and shape marriage?
Yeah.
So when it comes to the practical things, everything we're saying, some say, Shagun, I'm absolutely convinced that unless we first treat the ideas of our mind properly,
Yeah.
we will never be able to apply them anything better in a good way.
Exactly.
That's why we go through this lens to talk about these fundamental things,
Yeah.
so that by the time you now want to translate theory to practice, you are coming from the right foundation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your application will be wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with you 100%. And I think you're taking your argument from the point of view that even money in itself is an idea is very, very powerful. Is the way you have we've the way you have kind of whipped it around the argument is really very empowering.
Yeah.
And I want to appreciate you for that.
No, thank you, Shegun, and I know you have your thoughts. No, you tell me what to think. What do you see in terms of this thing? How?
Well, for me, on the surface, I would have just said, because I was really looking at money as something that is already existing in itself, not even remembering, because I can't even think about that, that even money in itself is a creation by the society for the ease of exchange. But when you look at ideas, for example, maybe you want to implement a business idea, for example, the first thing you are confronted with is, where do I find money to execute this idea?
Mm,
So sometimes at that point in time, money seems to be the most important thing
mm,
for you. But in reality, I don't think money is the most important thing at that point, because follow always follows. I mean, money always follows an idea that is well defined.
yes.
If you define your idea very well and you know all the resources that you need to accomplish that particular idea, in no time you will discover where to get the money, because money is part of the resources that you need to execute that idea. It is in the process of mapping out that idea that you will suddenly realize what step you need to take to attract money
Yeah.
into the execution of that idea. That was the point view that I
Yeah.
was coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah. And you're right. And
The
you're
way
right.
you laughed it on that, even the very idea of money in itself is an idea.
Yeah.
It's not just something that existed just by itself. It was
No.
the creation of the society.
Yeah. And think about Shegun. Look at our brothers from the eastern part of Nigeria,
Yeah,
who, when they want to, because they like to sort of look at a particular market
yeah,
and become dominant in it. And what
exactly.
they will do is they can say, okay, this is my younger brother from the village. Let me train him
Yes.
and then set him up once he learns the trade.
They won't pay him salary. They will
No,
be learning experience from them.
yeah, but you know that ultimately, once I've mastered this trade,
Yeah,
there's a future for me.
yes.
So that, and then they will set that person up,
Yeah.
and they will even help that person in developing his business. So
Exactly. Yeah.
if they have something, say, I have it in my other shop,
Yeah.
they will
I
come,
said,
they will bring
I'll
it.
call
So,
you quickly.
so the person that wasn't thinking about money initially will then have that money.
Yeah.
So, question: is it money that the person needed for us to start a business, or service?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, this is where to just think, oh, if I don't have money, I cannot start.
Yeah.
It's not really the right way to think.
Not the right way to think, honestly speaking. Now, Kunle, we are getting close to the end of this podcast. I know I'm not going to give you any hints into what I'm about to say, but I just want to ask from you, what do you think is the most transforming or transformative idea in our world right now? What idea do you think is the most transformative in our world today?
I think it depends on the there are I'll say that there are multiple streams of ideas that
Okay,
are gaining traction.
okay,
Um, when it comes to say how we, for example, if you look, it depends on the sectors as well. But if you think about,
maybe we can look at it in this sense, an idea that is connected to everything, not just an
Hmm,
idea that exists by itself in a particular sector.
right,
An
okay,
idea that
okay,
whether
an
you
idea
want
that is overarching.
to overarching over every,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm. Well, um, still there are a few. Number one, I would say that there is there are transformative ideas
yeah,
whose impact will literally touch every aspect of our lives.
yeah,
One of such is the application of data
yeah. Mm.
to every aspect of life.
Making,
Yeah, literally every aspect of life.
yeah,
So such that we are not only thinking about digitalization,
yeah.
but we are also talking about
Application of,
what they call autonomy. So it's like it's the conversion is or the convergence of what you call autonomy, authority, and agency all coming together. And what that leads to is the existence of multi agents.
so do you want to give us a clear
Yes,
idea of what
I was trying
agent
to explain it. I had to find a way to explain it in a very simple way. Now, the idea is this: everything that you have been doing, you are going to have to rethink all of them.
is?
Literally everything. If you want to shop, you're going to rethink it. If you want to go to school, you're going to have to rethink it because how you've done it so far will no longer be how you will be doing it going forward.
Yeah, yeah,
And at the very base of it is the the use of data and information in a different way
mm,
from how we've always used them.
mm,
That is at the base of it. It's going to affect money. It will affect, I mean, literally everything. Healthcare. It will affect manufacturing. It will affect buying and selling. Uh, it, it will absolutely. And I think that's probably that's the most dominant thing in our world. That's my from what I see, right? And from my interaction, that is my absolute conviction. It is bound to happen. It will happen.
that's very powerful. I know that there are a lot of there is virtually anything you want to do today that will not be data driven. There is practically nothing you want to do.
This broadcast now, right now, we have generated so much data,
Yeah,
and we have been training a lot of machines
yeah,
so that the machine now knows your voice and my voice.
yeah.
Right?
I was sharing in our last podcast when I was asking Grog some question, and Grog was linking the idea of what I was asking with School of Transformation and Leadership.
Because it knows you do school of
I
transformation.
was just
It knows.
totally taken aback.
Yeah, yeah, because it knows. Look, do you know how much data you have put out there
Yeah,
about school of transition and leadership? I mean, do you know? Look, I'll put it this way. Machines know a lot about you than you ever
I know
imagine.
about myself.
It knows exactly
I've never. I know some people have done it, but I just do. I don't even. I've not even thought about it before to even ask, to even take the time to ask any of these AI tool to give me a few background about who I am. I, I, well, I think it would be nice to know it, but I don't feel inspired to want to do such.
Put it this way, Shagun. Everything we have been doing all of our lives
Yeah,
has been giving information to some machine somewhere.
exactly.
So when you open your Yahoo email,
Yeah,
your Hotmail, your
exactly.
MSN email, your Google email, that data is going to some machine.
Exactly.
Every
Exactly.
time you do something, you send something through an email, a file, those
Exactly.
things have never disappeared. They are being stored
Yeah.
all of this time.
Yeah.
So everything you have sent there for in the last 10 years is known
Yeah.
and can be connected. So the ability to read text
Yeah.
and to translate to voice
Yeah.
or to translate vision to this or that or to audio, all of these things have now come together, being used on all of those things. And everything, all of this are just called data. So, and machines have been taught to now learn from all of those things. So everything you put on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, they can all be brought together, attributed to you, and therefore there's a rich information about you that you've already volunteered all of this time. That's the reality of our world. So everything you've ever ordered on Amazon is known, or eBay, or whatever it is known. Every Uber you've ordered is known.
You know, every day I'm always scared to shop on Amazon because Amazon practically captures your pattern.
It's not only Amazon. Every
Yeah,
system.
because
When
sometimes
you search on
I,
Google,
I don't really shop on Amazon, but each time I shop on Amazon, there was a particular product that I use. I won't mention the product. I use that product regularly, and all of a sudden I discovered that they were making it very difficult for me to get. So or they will make it more costly for me to get. So what I did was to now begin to shop in bulk so that I will reduce the cost of shipping.
yeah.
What
We,
I have
we,
suddenly found out recently is that they've even made it even more difficult for me to even shop in bulk now. So you still have to shop in piece by
yeah.
piece because they know that the more frequent you shop those things, the more they will gain from the shipping that you are going
Yeah,
to.
yeah, because we are all data generators. We are
Yeah,
all data generators, and we have been generating so much data that
yeah,
we would if ever care about,
yeah,
and think about it. All of that combined with everything, your medical information,
yeah.
with your financial information. I mean, we've given out so much. That's
Uh,
that's the- that's the
Kunle,
reality.
can we then say we're in trouble, or how do
Well,
we
it
define
it
this?
it, it all depends. It all depends.
Wow.
So a knife can be a very useful tool if you're
Yeah,
cutting your meat
yeah,
and dicing your vegetables,
yeah,
but it can also be used to stab.
yeah. That's true. That's true.
So that's why I said it all depends.
Now, Kule, I have two more questions to ask you, and then we'll close in this podcast. The first question is, can machine ever become sentient?
Can machines ever become?
Sentient. That is, can they become can they acquire the ability to feel emotion, to think like human, to feel what we feel like human? Are we nearing that level of connection with machine? Are
I
we
would say
nearing
I would say I would say possibly and very likely. So, um, and I can look at that from scriptural point of view and also from technological point of view.
yeah,
If everything is data and you can map out every data and define that data to a good extent,
yeah.
then I would say quite possibly. For example, the brain has been mapped. I mean,
But
years ago.
the brain is that machine is enormous.
It is. So, and if machines in their learning, there's what's called the learning models, large language models, and so on. So machine learning is a thing. And if in their learning, they are, and you've almost laid out the entire life of a human being, and including all their feelings, all their emotion, and it's been well, shall I say, that learning has been imbibed by a machine that is observing,
Do
that
you do
has,
you think machine can actually learn all our emotions?
maybe not all, but I think machines are becoming extremely powerful now, that even if they can't learn it perfectly in the way human, but they can translate it into digital, into data,
Yeah.
put consumable data. And that's all the machine needs to do, to translate everything into sequence of data, of data, right? So whether that is zeros and binary, or other forms of data encoding. So once it can do that, then it can simulate. So it's first imitation. If it and okay, have you not seen where robots, like, or humanoids, are being used to help at home?
Yeah.
And part of what is going on is to have, like, machines that can actually be like like your personal assistant, help you at home, household machines that help you do everything you need to do, so that you now don't need a human being to do those things. So these are all developments that's going on, and at various stages of maturity. So even if the machine does not entirely feel, as in being able to now cry, but it can reinterpret that emotion in a way that will be relatable to a human. And I think that is the outcome that will likely be easily generated.
On the final note, I want to ask how obviously there are life as we know it. Kunle, I know. I remember in 2000, 2001, particularly 2002, when I was writing my thesis
Yes.
as an undergraduate. I had this same premonition that information technology was going to sweep over the entire landscape of the way we do business. But unfortunately, despite the fact that I thought about it, I did a research about it, I was one of the victims. I was one of the victims because I was still held back with my school of thought that I can always have a secretary that can do that for me. But I think I've learned my I think I've learned my lesson from that experience. And we're definitely on another threshold this time around, Kunle. And we all know that, just like you have said, artificial intelligence is going to redefine everything, everything. In
it,
fact,
it,
even
it
this,
actually
I'm already thinking about how AI is going to impact what we are doing at School of Transformational Leadership, Africana Leadership Digest, and Bethsaida, which I've just started. And there are some amazing ideas that is coming from that end as well. And I'm looking at how AI is going to impact how we are going to execute this business. It's not going to be executed in the traditional way.
No.
So the question now I want to ask, how do we brace ourselves so that we can play an effective role in all this evolution?
Well, a machine is not a human being.
Mm,
A human being is a divine creation, is a God creation.
mm,
So I say that the edge that a put it this way, Christ did not die for machines.
yeah. Mm,
Christ did not redeem machines. So
mm,
a human is irreplaceable.
mm,
A human is such a divine entity that God The determination of the value and the place a human belongs is a divine definition. God defined that. Let us make man in our image. The most important property of a human being is the image of God. No machine is an image of God. No machine will ever be an image of God. It can be an image of something else. So, and man was designed, was created to live out of his image, to live just revealing the properties of his image. That's it. So we just need to go back to the original. You see, God only deals in original, not in laterly inventions or laterly ideas. We need reclaim your image, function as your image. See, there is no machine that will ever replace a lion. None. There is no machine that will replace an eagle or even a parrot. None. None. There is no machine that will replace water. Everything that God creates is an original creation. So to retain your value, you must retain your original creation. Because that is not, you cannot improve on an original. But if you become an imitation of something else, oh, there can always be multiple versions of an imitation.
Exactly. Exactly. Kunle, this has been a wonderful conversation as usual. And you cannot know how thrilled I am to have been able to do this with you. And I know there are still many more plans that we have together
By the grace of God.
to bring many more episodes of this kind of podcast. I want to sincerely thank you. I want to appreciate you for spending time with me. I know today has been a busy day for you. Likewise, me, since mine has been since yesterday. And I know you are just coming from a trip from another town to be able to do this. I
No,
cannot thank you
thank you,
enough
my friend.
for the gift of friendship, for your belief in me, and for everything we've been able to do together. I sincerely,
Shago, let me be honest with you. When we do a walk like this, it's like we are breathing, it's like we are getting our energy back.
exactly.
Because it is very energizing for you as well as for me. So when you are doing this, we don't feel any tiredness. I know it. I can sense it in you too. Because this is for us, this is like we're doing the work of our lives.
Exactly.
So I know that, of course, I appreciate the privilege. It's always a joy, but all my tiredness flew out once we started.
Before we started, I was just praying. I hope Kule will not say we should postpone this thing. No.
No,
I
I
was
couldn't miss it for anything.
But anyway, I want to thank you, Kule.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much.
I hope we can continue to do this over and over and over and over again.
By the grace of God. We can only do our work. We are born to do our work.
Exactly. So
Thank you, my friend.
Kule, my special regards to your queen and the little princess in your abode.
Yes, and to all of my friends, to your very dear wife, and to all my wonderful young leaders in your domain. Please give my love and honor to all of them.
All right. All right.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Kunle. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, our viewers. We appreciate you. We would love to get your feedback on all our podcasts. Let's hear what you're thinking. Tell us what you want us to do better, and it will be an amazing journey for all of us. So until we meet next time, bye-bye.